Good morning. I am here with Lakisha Jamison of Naturally Relaxed. And we're going to have a conversation this morning about how being a business owner in this time is shifting and changing and how we have to kind of adjust on the fly. And she is also going to talk about the fact that she not only is she running her business from home, but she also now has her son at home and is working on figuring out how to juggle homeschooling, how to juggle working still. So welcome, Lakisha, and please go ahead and introduce yourself, share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Good morning, Vicki. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good. So I'm Lakisha, as you already introduced, and I'm the owner of Naturally Relaxed LLC. And at Naturally Relaxed, we are a bath and product business, and we also provide services. So I'm a Reiki practitioner, and that is the lamest terms, energy healing. So in that realm, we also have services that we provide for chakra balancing. We provide meditation services, and we also provide Reiki services. So a lot on our plate, as business owners, but we're managing through these times. A lot can be done as far as the Reiki services on the digital side. That can be done, through virtual servicing, and also with the product side, as long as the post office is open, then we're pretty much in business and luck for that. So that's our day to day. I make soaps on a day to day basis, bath bombs, bubble bars, all of your relaxation needs. Those things happen behind the scene while I'm running my business from home.
And I know you post some really cool videos about how you're making things online. That I found that fascinating for myself. So if someone wants to connect with you and see that behind the scenes, you do a great job of sharing that.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. And so what I heard you say too, that like the Reiki and the energy work that you do right now, you're able to offer that online right now.
Right. Yes. So distant Reiki is the same as, hands-on Reiki. The only difference is I am not actually touching the client. However, I do have the space and the limitations, well, the unlimitations to actually send it out to the universe and have, the client receive what they need to receive from me and receive from the universe through that distant session.
That is so cool, and especially right now when when we're all not able to go places.
Right.
So, how has your business been impacted so far? Either have you had to make any decisions, new decisions, or are your sales up, down? How are you perceiving this time?
Okay, so this month has been a really good month for us, despite all that's been going on. I have had to, move from doing services inside of actual brick and mortar to putting them on the virtual side as far as the Reiki has been concerned. Meditation, the same difference. I have my Heal and Relax group that's on Facebook. And so I go in there and I provide them with like a 10-minute either guided or non-guided meditation session, and just leave it in there for the group to have throughout the day, or can always have access to it. So it's just making these different changes that will be more beneficial for everyone. And yeah, it's a change, and sometimes we don't adjust well to change. However, I don't have an issue with adapting to something that will help someone else or even help myself. So we adapt and overcome.
Do you see some opportunities that could come out of this for your business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny you asked that, because as I was preparing for this, I was thinking the word uncertainty has been thrown around. And I even find myself using that word when I do postings. And I'm like, but what's uncertain about this time? Is it that because we're quarantined, we don't know what's going to happen in April, we don't know what's going to happen in August, we don't know, how long this is going to be? Yeah, that's uncertainty. But I think what needs to happen now is we need to change that uncertainty and just say these times are certain for the moment, because we need to actually start living in the moment. And a lot, and we all fall victim. We've been, out here just living day to day, and planning this, planning that, but never just sitting down and enjoying that actual moment with family, with, taking care of ourselves, with just inhaling what's going on around us. It's always been, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's that long laundry list of things to do, but we're not practicing that pause. So, the uncertainties, yes, we don't know day to day, but we go through life even before this happened with uncertainties minute by minute. So, changing that verbiage is what I'm going to have to work on, and, present it to my group as well, that we need to change that verbiage and actually focus on the moment that we're in.
Yeah, I love how you say that, because this is a time that emphasizes how little control we have over the future. And I, before this happened, I think we didn't have any more control over the future than what we have right now. But we
Certainly.
sometimes perceive that we do. And that does take us to living for tomorrow instead of living right now,
Right.
moment by moment, hour by hour. So I really hear what you're saying. And I really think it's a cool opportunity for us, for people, for families to do that, and really to take those moments to connect.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it's like I said, it's uncertain. We could go out here today and never make it back home. That was very uncertain and, very unfortunate. But what are you doing right now to ground yourself in the moment? And so I've been working on, open projects that I have, and spending more time with my son, spending more time with my wife, and just, trying to, like, wow, what were we doing before? Were we going out to eat every day, or, what were we really doing? And
Yeah.
so you think back and you can't even recall the things that you've been doing because everything was so rapidly moving. And, that's one of the things that I'm really going to talk about with my group, the verbiage of that word uncertainty, and just focus on what you can do that's very certain. And that's, developing yourself into a bigger and better person, more family ties, completing tasks that you have, and things of that nature.
Well, I love where you're going with that. And it reminds me also that there are kids growing up right now who've never lived a week at home, an entire week at home with their parents, without running in so many different directions, running to sports practices, running to their parents, running to meetings, running to here, running to there. And so one of the cool things I think that is coming out of this is we are forced to pause and to do things with our families. There was and there actually, in our town, there's an event happening in the next couple days where your quarantine group, they described it. So our family that we're quarantining with is encouraged to go out and drive down Main Street. We live in a tiny town, so there's still Main Street that when people used to drive up and down Main Street. And so there are events like that where people are being encouraged to get out, stay in their vehicles, but do things with their families that they've never done before. So I think
Mhm.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That leads us into our next conversation about being a business owner, working from home, and now having your child at home. So how has that shifted your world?
It has shifted some. However, I am that parent that spends a lot of time with him. So him being here is like a blessing in disguise for me. I miss him when he's at school. I know that he has to go to school to get his education, but we're very much so on top of things when it comes to his education and well-being. So him being here is just like a breath of fresh air, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to take you to school. You're actually here with me. Now, on the other hand, he's like, okay, maybe, I need to go see my friends at the Boys and Girls Club or something like that. But I mean, he's always here with me. So it's not a adjustment for me. The hardest part that I find right now is that teaching, because I work from home and I'm a product maker. I don't have that, time as his teacher would be able to devote to actually teach him. And so what we're doing now is, I set him up on a lesson plan. And so that lesson plan allows him to follow through with the next lessons. And then I do grading and checking of the work. But what I'm finding out is that, he's doing everything he needs to do, but then where's that time that he's receiving teaching and that actual, structural time? So this week coming up, what I'm going to do is spend, an hour with him throughout the time that I'm making products, or scale down on making products for a while, because I think we're pretty much caught up on that. And devote more time to him as far as doing the teaching side of it versus, just saying, okay, here's your lesson plan for the day, go for it. And then we'll break for lunch. And, we'll have our lunch together, and then we'll go back to me going back to work, you going back to doing your schoolwork. Because yes, he's here, but we're still not, having that effective teaching that's been going, that should be going on for his age.
Sure. And share with me, how old is your son and what grade is he in?
He's 9. He's in the 3rd grade, but
Okay.
he's a little unique because he's in the 3rd grade. However, he's 2 grade levels ahead. So I'm having to, find work for 5th or 6th grade for him. And then he will do like his math work on a 6th grade level. And, I don't want him to jump too far ahead, but I don't want to keep him stationary as well. So I'm incorporating things that he would do in 3rd grade, and then, saying, okay, well, this is what we do in 4th grade. This is what we do in 5th grade. And trying to compile it all together so that he'll have that challenge piece and also still receiving the foundation of what's supposed to be taught in 3rd grade.
That's amazing. Now, is his school providing any lessons or guidance during this process, or are they just completely shut down?
They're completely shut down. So because we're very involved in his schooling, we actually have, he received a computer for Christmas that we got him from Santa. And so he's been working on the different programs that they actually work on in class. And we have access to them. We've had access to them the entire school year. And that was going to prepare them for the standardized test that they had to take next month. So
Okay.
we've been working that, and, still following along with the lessons that, because I was talking to his teacher before all this happened, I knew where he was going for the rest of the school year. So I have all that information. So I've just been paralleling it to what he's doing on the computer and then what he would actually be doing in his class if he was still there.
That's awesome. So one of the things I hear you saying is that you were really involved in where he was at and what was happening before this, and so that's made it an easier transition for you
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've been involved in his education since we put him in school. He came out of private school last year simply because we wanted him to, be introduced to other kids and, another school setting. So, um, I have my regrets on that as well. But next year, hopefully, he'll be back in private school. Public school system, I'm not knocking it. It's just, 4 years of him being in private school, the things that we were accustomed to, the advancements that we were seeing. And then he, transitioned over to public school. And I just feel like, he's stagnant right now and not being challenged enough. So that's where we are with that. But we'll make the necessary, adjustments when that time comes as well for him to go back to private school. But right now we're, doing what we can to make sure he stays educated.
Yeah. And for those parents who haven't been involved so deeply in their kids' education, this is their time to take some involvement and some initiative in it.
Exactly. Yes. And I see posts on Facebook all the time where, parents are now crediting teachers saying, I did not realize that your job was this hard, and we laugh at the post because there's like, oh yeah, what happened to, the paper, the pencils, everything, all the school supplies that I sent you. I need those back now since I'm teaching. But I'm like, teachers, they do have a lot on their plates.
They do.
They're in charge of a whole education program for a child to be able to thrive and survive in this community, this society. So yeah, it is a whole lot, but it's not all the teacher's responsibility. It's the parent's responsibility as well to be engaged and to know what's going on so that in moments like this, you can piggyback off of what was actually happening in the school. But if you don't attend, meetings with your teachers and you don't schedule pop-ups for the classroom, then you don't know what's going on.
I find it interesting too that from my own perspective, I feel like a lot of our education system hasn't evolved with the times and
Mhm.
is still teaching kids back the way we would have taught kids maybe 40 or 50 years ago, which we live in a completely world than we lived in 40 or 50 years ago. So I'm curious to see how this time is going to impact and open up us up to considering more advanced ways of teaching, of being. And I think it's going to do that in not just our education system, but in so many different ways of life. It's going to show us that what we thought was not possible, we're all being challenged to make possible right now. So I'm just curious to see what long-term impacts come from that.
Yeah, and so like right now, the school districts are moving towards having computer-based education. A parent like myself, I'm still young, barely, but I don't so much agree with a child sitting in front of a computer all day. So we do a lot of paper writing here, and I think that the what we're missing out on is like those gross motor skills, the things that we actually need to survive,
Mhm.
because we're putting them in front of a computer so early. So handwriting was an issue for my son, even in when he was in pre-K 4. And so we still struggle with him writing, with his handwriting, but I don't have the best handwriting myself. So I'm just thinking that, maybe that's genetic. Yeah. But, putting them in front of a computer, what are they really gaining? Because I put him in front of the computer and I test him after the fact. And, he has everything that he needs and he understands what's going on. But what about for that child who actually needs to have that writing to figure out, a math problem or to show their work? I don't know. I'm kind of torn between throwing so much technology at them at an early age, even though I know that's the way of the world that we're moving towards. But these kids now, they don't even have to do a signature. They, you know, fill out something online and it generates their signature. So he learned how to write in cursive from private school. But then when he went to public school, it's not being taught in public school. So we had to do a whole lesson last week just on cursive writing.
Yeah,
And,
because I know in many places cursive is not being taught anymore.
right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's at, catch 22 when it comes to the whole technology piece for me. And, like last week, I made a batch of soap. And so he was standing near me and I said, well, let's talk about measurements. And that was, his math lesson for that day. And he said, okay, mom. I said, so if I have 16 ounces, how many pounds is that? And he was like, I don't know. And I said, see, this is why I'm telling you that math is important, because even me making soap, I have to make sure that every measurement is correct to produce a quality product that if it's tested by the FDA one day, it will pass their test. And he looked at me and he was like, oh, I just thought that you just mixed things together and you
You
came up
just
with
thought
these nice
you just
stuff.
thought you just dumped and mixed. Huh?
No, I formulate, my own recipe and create it from scratch. And then we go on with the soap making process. And it was amazing to me that he's in the third grade and these measurement things haven't been taught yet. And so while we're in the kitchen cooking, I'm always asking him if, to look at the back of the box and tell me how much water we're supposed to put in this, get the measuring cup. And that's because home economics isn't in school anymore.
Yeah.
So they don't
Getting
have that.
actively involved in the practical aspect of how it
Right,
it
right.
involves life.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, as we wind down our conversation here,
Mhm.
two things. Any final thoughts to our audience on how they can thrive during this period of time? And then how can they find you if they want to check out some of your amazing soaps and maybe the group that you mentioned, how can they find you?
Okay, so the only recommendations is right now is just to enjoy this moment. While it is very uncertain, it is not uncertain. We have control actually right now of what's going on. We have control over our homes. We have control over ourselves. No one is telling us, you need to report to work at 08 or whatever time. We're not, in the hustle and bustle of getting up in the mornings, getting the kids ready for school, fixing lunches, breakfast. It's just we're in that moment. So
Yeah.
embrace that moment. And it could be stressful because we don't know, but we know what we can control. And that's the things that we actually need to control, what we can control.
Well,
And I'm on Facebook as Naturally Relaxed LLC, and that's where I do all my behind the scenes of product making. I also have a Heal and Relax group that I welcome anyone who is in the process of healing or learning how to heal. We failed to mention that I'm a post NICU mom, so I have a lot of NICU trauma that I once went through, and I share in my group how I overcame through counseling, through writing, creating my own business. My business actually is stemmed around my trauma from the NICU. So, I turn those lemons into lemonade and I enjoy what I do. And I'm always hunting the good stuff. So, Instagram, we're on there as Naturally Relaxed 01. You can also visit our website at www.naturallyrelaxed.life. And I welcome, any feedback. I look forward to working with anyone who is, in the business for healing and or know someone that would benefit from the services that we provide. So reach out to us.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today, and enjoy the moments the rest of the day with your family.
Okay, you do the same, Vicki, and thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.